and welcome to Meet the Writers. My guest today emigrated to Germany from what was then the Socialist Republic of Romania in 1985 when she was a small child. She graduated in German studies and literature, religious studies, as well as graphic arts and painting at the University of Marburg. And from 2003 to 2013, she worked at the German Literature Archive and was a lecturer in art education. In November of the same year, she became the coordinator of the Cultural Education Network in Freiburg. Her debut novel, Half a Stone, came out in 2012, and she's the recipient of many awards in Germany. 2023, she got the prestigious Dresden Chamisso Prize for a work of literature based on a migrant experience, contributing to European interconnectedness. A year later, she was shortlisted for the German Book Prize, which is often compared to the UK Booker. Her latest novel is the first of two to be translated into English. Blurred follows 7 voices across 3 generations. This magical feat of imagination has received tremendous reviews, and I'm so pleased to be speaking to the author now. Iris Wolff, welcome to Meet the Writers.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I could call you Iris Wolff or I could call you Iris Wolff.
Both is fine.
But I guess in Germany that is how it would be pronounced.
Yes.
Right. But this is your first work in translation. And as you were telling me, your first interview in English.
It is.
Well, thank you so
Exciting,
much.
yes.
We really, really appreciate you making the effort. And I just apologise that I don't speak German. I want you to take us back to actually not to Germany at all, but to Romania, to where you were born. And I wonder perhaps we could evoke it by thinking of a specific memory, a sound, a smell or a scene in Sibiu or Semlac.
I grew up in a parsonage in the Banat. That's a region in western Romania. And I have happy memories of this childhood because my father was a Protestant vicar there, my mother a nursery school teacher, and we had a lot of guests. It's crazy because in the 70s and 80s, Romania, there was a lot of economic hardship and the secret police spied on people, but it was not my experience. I really have happy memories of my childhood.
And so your father, his vocation as a pastor, did that affect your early world in any way?
It became very clear to me from the beginning that the world has a symbolic nature. There is the material world on one side, and on the other side there are ideas, books and philosophy and religion, and both are connected. And so storytelling, stories from the Bible or fairy tales or novels and books, they became part of my experience very early on.
And you must have then been very used to church going as well.
Yes, it was really funny to see your own dad, in this official position. Yes.
And you mentioned that there were lots of visitors, and presumably that was also to do with him being the local priest.
In Romania, in the Banat and Transylvania, the parsonages, they had always open doors for travelers. So travelers from the eastern Germany, for example, they visited us on their way to the Black Sea in summer. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why did you leave Romania and how old were you?
My family submitted the papers in 1980s and waited 5 years for the approval. And then we left Romania in 1985. I was 8 years old.
And that must have been a major life change for you.
It was a big loss because I missed the familiar street, I missed my friends, I missed the landscape, the sounds and smells. It took a while to settle in Germany. We lived in temporary housing for 1.5 years. My father was unemployed. I felt alienated, and that's strange because German was my mother tongue, because the Transylvanian Saxons, they lived for over 800 years in Romania, and so they really felt alienated in the beginning in Germany.
You've talked in the past in some interviews that you described Romania as multilingual by default, with Hungarian and, of course, German influences. Tell me about all of those languages and how they shaped your literary imagination.
Language is always metaphorical. So when you speak different languages, you know that every language has another viewpoint of the world. And I think when people with various nationalities live together, they set themselves apart, but there are also things they incorporate, like specific words or proverbs or music maybe. And I think this coexistence of different languages, they really shaped my language, my viewpoint of the world.
And in the book, it's really interesting. One of your characters is also bilingual, and you describe how the way he speaks completely changes when he swaps languages. He becomes faster and more animated.
Isn't it true that we are slightly different in another language? That's my experience, yes.
How are you different in English? What am I not getting from the German Iris?
I love the English language. I read a lot. I listen to podcasts. I watch movies. But I have not so much experience in speaking it. So I think I'm a little bit more shy and slow maybe in English than I am in German.
How interesting. There's another bit in the book which refers to language, and I just found it fascinating because I had no idea about the root of this. And you describe how points of the compass in Persian are named after colours. So you have the red colour facing in this direction and the green in this direction. And to the north, it's black, hence the Black Sea. I found that absolutely fascinating.
Thank you.
Now, you studied German literature, also religious studies, I'm guessing that's from your father, and fine arts in Marburg. And then you spent a decade at the German Literature Archive. Tell me about the German Literature Archive.
It's the biggest archive for literature in Germany. And I worked there for, I think, almost 10 years, spent a lot of time in the cellars with all these wonderful things like manuscripts and photographs and diaries. I think that it gave me confidence to start my own novel. I think I wrote 6 years. It took me 6 years to write my first novel, and the time in Marbach in this archive, it gave me strength, but on the other side, one can be humble because you see how many writers are forgotten. We have these enduring classics, but most of the writers, we forget them so fast. And you see when you work there, you see the struggle they have with their texts. Even Kafka, for example, how he really tried to find the right word so that I think writing is always wrestling with the text and always pushing against the boundaries of your own ability. It's really hard to live up to your own expectations.
I wonder what you learnt by looking at those drafts of writers such as Kafka, because, as you say, you can see the process.
You see the process. And I think it's a big loss that we write at the computer. You can't really make that visible. You really see the struggle. Kafka, for example, he struggled to find the first sentence, for example. The first sentence is so important. It's the door to the narrated world. And he really struggled.
So interesting. Now, your depth of experience is really wide. You lectured in art history and you coordinated cultural education. Tell me about that part of your life.
I worked in this department for 5 years, and, for example, I organized a big festival for children's literature that took place at every theater in town, at all the schools, and had free admission for the children.
That sounds extraordinary. And I wonder how that educational side of your career reframed maybe how you think about or relate to your readers.
I love to talk about literature because I know a novel really needs the reader to come alive. So I know I have to take care that I have these gaps and dark spots to leave room for the reader's imagination. I don't want to explain everything to the reader. I really want them to collaborate.
Do you have a specific reader in mind when you're writing?
I think I write books that I would love to read myself, yes.
Now you've got a background in painting too. Tell me how that visual awareness feeds into your work.
I don't wait for an idea to arise for a new novel. I just start with a vivid image. And in Blurred, it was Florentine in the snowstorm trying to get to the nearest hospital. I know when I have this image and it's connected with a gut feeling, then I follow the character, I follow their lead. So I don't wait for a big idea, because I think if you really have a vivid image and a feeling that is connected to a character, then you can start writing.
I wonder what the tipping point was going from archive coordinator to freelance writer. You said it took you 6 years to write the book, but when did you go, fine, I'm giving up the day job?
Oh, I tried with the first novel, and then after 1 year, I knew that I really have to find a job again. Yes, because it was a struggle, to earn enough money to make a living out of it. So then I worked again for 5 years, and then my third novel took off, and then I tried again, and ever since it carries me. So lucky.
So talented, I would say. Tell me about that first novel.
The first novel is very autobiographic in a way, because I wanted to explore why have all the Germans gone? Why did my family left? And I think every novel is a quest. You have these questions and maybe you find answers in writing.
I must say, though, hearing your life story and reading Blurred, this seems to be pretty autobiographical too.
It was a surprise to me because it's my fourth novel, and I can tell you the story how I got the first idea. Maybe that's a good thing. I recall an evening with my parents, and my mother told me my first word. And that was a surprise because it took her 40 years to tell me what my first word was. Yes? Do you know your first word?
I think I did, and I think I've forgotten. Do I know my first word?
I didn't know for 40 years, and my mom told me my first word, and that opened up a door to this narrated word. I knew that I want to write a story about a character. I knew that it was not a female, a male character, and I knew that his first word would be my first word. Yes.
And what's that word?
Zapada. It was a Romanian word. Yes, it's the word for snow.
Aha, and hence walking through the snow. Wonderful, wonderful way that this book is structured. It's very ambiguous at the core of the book, isn't it?
I don't want to provide easy answers. I really want readers to engage and to explore this world. So in my view, everything is entangled. So I wrote this novel in 7 chapters, and it's an open composition. So every chapter stands on their own, but they are entangled.
They're fragmented as well, and they're from shifting perspectives. I mean, did that structure sort of line up with your sense of memory and identity?
When you write a book with this structure, it becomes clear that every chapter, every character, it's just one viewpoint of the world, and that we live in a world with so many viewpoints, and that's important to me because sometimes we explain the world in unbearable simplifications, and I really think that the structure is important because it sets the frame for certain questions. And I wanted to know in this novel, are we different? The eyes of other people, and who is Samuel, the main character, because he never gets his own chapter.
Now, Bene does, and has some wonderful things to say about literature and books. For instance, that a book must find a reader at the right moment. Just explore for me a little bit more what he's saying about books. He actually runs a bookstore.
Yes, he runs a bookstore, and it was great fun to write this chapter because I had to do a lot of research, and booksellers told me their struggles and why they love their job and everything. And Bine says that every book has the right time to read it, and sometimes you miss that time, and then all your effort has no point.
If you read a book at the wrong time.
Yes, if you read the book at the wrong time. And sometimes a book preserves the time where you read it. Can you relate to that? Have you ever had this experience?
Absolutely. I find what he says about literature so interesting. I wondered maybe you'd just read us a couple of lines.
Yes, of course. A book was not the same after you had read it. If Bine lost a book or lent it to someone who had presumably taken his particular views on board, he was forced to rebuy and reread it, so to make it his again. God preserve him from a house fire, and with it the necessity of rereading all his books. He had left his library behind once before, and to his mind once was enough. Bine had a memory for books. No, books were his memory. They preserved the time in which he read them.
And of course, he then goes on this road trip with Samuel. And I love the description. The footwell of the car is just filled with books.
Yes.
It's amazing. And he has one client at the bookshop who is a poet. And it turns out this poet has never paid for any books.
Yes, he never paid for the books, but he has this wonderful recommendations. And so it's a win-win situation.
Well, and it's so great for the reader as well, getting this basically curated list of reading via the poet, via Bine.
True.
It's a wonderful thing to do. Tell us about the process then of working with the translator. How, because obviously you speak excellent English, so how close is what you're reading here in English to what you wrote in German?
I really loved working with Ruth Martin, and I think she has done a wonderful job. This translation has been made with so much care and affection, and she wrote me with her questions and was happy, to work with her. And when I met her, she even told me, and that was so fascinating, that she cooked all the meals in this book to really get a sense of how things taste, and this is so marvelous.
That's
what an
wonderful.
approach.
What
Yes.
an approach.
Yes.
And actually, I can see why you would want to do that, because the descriptions of the food and indeed of the vegetation, of the garden, even of the weather are so rich. And you do feel like you want to inhabit it, don't you?
Yes, I try to write a novel as centrally as possible, because I hope that the readers then will be in this world, in terms of not just an overview, that they really feel something of the connection the characters have to their surroundings, to the landscape.
Now, tell me about reception to this book, because, of course, you've won or been nominated for some enormous prizes. And I understand that Romanians from the Transylvanian German minority responded warmly to it, but that wasn't necessarily the case across the board.
I really love that readers in Germany, and I think in Britain too, they're accomplished readers, because with a novel you become a time traveler, so you can explore regions and landscapes that you don't know. And there is this great interest for stories with a migrational background, and my novels have a broader audience now.
How did people in Romania receive it?
The last two books have been translated to Romania, and there is just a small audience for this kind of books, and that really saddens me, because I think it's a shared history.
A shared history that isn't necessarily equally recognised, though.
Yes, it's true.
Tell me about your book, Clearings.
Clearings will be published next year by Moth Books. I'm looking forward to it. And I told a story backwards. So you meet the characters at present day, and then the book reveals the past. So I really hope it was an experiment to do it this way, but I thought that's the way we meet someone in real life. We meet them as a person, we meet them who they are today, and maybe if we get to know each other better, then something of their past will be revealed. And I think there is this trauma that is passed down through generations, and that telling a story backwards can reveal something of that.
And in fact, you've played with that idea a little bit in Blurred too.
Yes. I really feel this connection to my ancestors, and I try to write stories that show something of this connection. And I think even when I look backwards, there is always this wish for transformation, this longing for new beginnings.
So I know that for Clearings you curated playlists. Are you likely to do a soundtrack for Blurred?
Yes, I have. I really love working with music because sometimes you really have to wait. Because I don't plot my stories, sometimes I have to wait how the story will go on. And so I go for a walk and I put on some music and I try to really get into the feeling of this world.
What is the mood here of the music that you have for Blurred?
In Blurred, there are English songs, there are German songs, there are Romanian songs. There is even a song from the minority of the Transylvanian Saxons. They have this medieval dialect. And I think the mood is new beginnings, sometimes loss, sometimes melancholy, and this feeling of
nostalgia?
Yes, nostalgia, but not really nostalgia. I think it's more preserving, a sense of preserving a lost world and the fragility of life.
Is there a book in any language you'd love to see on every reader's table next to Blurred?
Oh, my personal hero at the moment is the writer Mary Oliver. She writes wonderful poems, and I read a poem every day.
And do you write poetry yourself?
I can't. I need more space. Yes.
What's next for you, Iris?
Oh, hopefully I have time to write again.
And do you know what that will be?
I never talk about my current project. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Iris Wolff, thank you very much indeed. Blurred, which is translated by Ruth Martin, is published by Moth Books, and it's out now. You've been listening to Meet the Writers, thanks to my producer Steph Chungu, who also edited the show. And you can download this programme and previous episodes from our website or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Georgina Godwin. Thank you for listening.